Hi guys, and welcome back to Lost in the 21st Century, a podcast to help you navigate through life, whether that's friendships, uni, lifestyle, self-care, and navigating your 20s. This should be the right podcast for you. I'm your host, Hugo, and whether you're new here, I'm so excited for you to tag along, whether you're going to be here for a long ride, which I'm hoping so, or whether you're a regular listener and you just want to listen to today's episode. But this episode is just influenced really on the fact that social media anxiety can be seen as something that is just for influencers, in my opinion. Like, I feel like people think that social media anxiety is like, anxiety when you have a lot of followers, but us regular people go through it all the time. I went through it for most of my life, but I feel like I've developed in ways, and I'm going to give you tips on how I developed and changed being anxious online. If you are that individual that uses Instagram and maybe you went out for dinner last week with your parents and your mum took a really nice photo of you and you like that photo but you haven't posted it on Instagram because you're scared of what people think, then this episode is for you. Maybe sit down, drink your coffee, clean, drive, do your work whilst you listen to this episode, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. To start off with today's episode, maybe you haven't heard of social media anxiety before, but I'm going to give you a little brief of what it means. I stupidly just didn't search it up, so I quickly got it on my laptop, so I'm going to quickly tell you what I've been told. So social media anxiety is a disorder-induced anxiety that is a psychological condition characterized by feelings of stress, worry, fear, or unease that arise when you're using or thinking about social media platforms, and this can manifest in various of different ways. Some that I'm going to explain that I've also realized. The one on this website also mentions similar things like fear of missing out, comparison and envy, performance pressure, cyberbullying, overwhelmed, and addiction. It's going to be talking about what I'm going to be talking about today. So to start off with this episode, I'm going to give you the 4 main causes of social media anxiety that I found affected me personally as well. Number 1 being comparison. I feel like comparing yourself is like the easiest way to cause social media anxiety, whether that's comparing yourself to influencers. Being a regular person / an influencer, to compare yourself between something that's completely different to yourself is insane. Not saying that it's insane, but like it's just one of those things where you shouldn't even put that into your own perspective. That's like me comparing myself to Prime Minister. Like, we're completely 2 different types of people with 2 different types of lifestyles, and like just me comparing like maybe Rishi Sunak's lifestyle is very different compared to my lifestyle. So that's a reach. It's a massive reach, but it's kind of like the same thing with influencers. Influencers are so different to us regulars, but us normal people, we're just very different from influencers because they live a different lifestyle compared to us. We probably like go to 9 to 5s, or we go to uni, or we go to school, whereas influencers, not all, some, especially the ones that I used to typically compare my lifestyle to, were the ones that they were either like models, or they were actresses, or they were TikTokers, but their lifestyle is different because they have the money to explore things like go on holiday back to back, whereas I can't go on holiday back to back. So me comparing myself to someone like that really didn't help my situation for the better, because it just made me feel less than. And so I was like, oh, I can't really use social media because like I'm not there yet, or I'm nothing like the influencers, or I can't afford to live the lifestyle like them. Like, I remember back in the day, people didn't used to post on TikTok because they didn't have an aesthetic house to post their talents. I would fully understand, because at the time influencers had really nice houses, whereas some of us didn't have nice houses, so you kind of felt out of place. Like, you felt like you couldn't do the talents that you had, you couldn't perform the way that you could because you didn't have, let's say, the kitchen. Like, maybe you love cooking videos and you see all these aesthetic cooking videos on TikTok, but then you look at your kitchen and you're like, oh well, I can't make aesthetic videos in my kitchen because my kitchen doesn't look like this chef on TikTok. So that already puts you in a very terrible mindset, because you're already comparing yourself, your lifestyle even, to someone else's that is completely different. The person you're comparing to has had time to develop. Maybe they've been working a 9 to 5 for like 10 years of their life, and they have saved enough money to do up their kitchen to make aesthetic videos, it doesn't mean that you won't be able to do it. Maybe the timing is just different for yourself, or even appreciate the things you have, because people don't care about what your kitchen looks like. As long as it's tidy, that's what they care about. But they don't care whether you've had the latest renovation done to your kitchen. Like, no one really cares what your kitchen looks like. I think people care more about your authenticity and your talent, because honestly guys, you can be a shit chef and have a really nice kitchen. Like, how do you even know the food tastes nice? Because it just looks nice. See, because they can have a really nice kitchen and kind of know how to cook, but the food tastes like shit. You know what I mean? Whereas you might know how to cook and the food is bussin', or you don't have the considered aesthetic kitchen that everybody has on TikTok. So my best suggestion, if you want to start a cooking video, if you want to start anything, like same thing with makeup, like maybe you don't have the brands for makeup, like the latest, because I know I don't. I only have like maybe like 3 branded makeup, but the rest is probably from like Sabina. If you know Sabina, then you know. I buy some of my concealers from like Sabina, and like I remember back in the day when I first started makeup, I'll buy my makeup from Primark, and I know some people do as well. But yeah, like even makeup, if you want to start a makeup video YouTube channel or something, or TikTok channel, you don't have to have a drawer full of high-end brand makeup products, because I know I don't. I literally just have a little bag of makeup, and the makeup in there isn't even like stuff that people use all the time. Like majority of the makeup I've used is, some of them is like Maybelline, L'Oreal, but nothing like Chanel or Anastasia or what else is there? I don't even really know the makeup brands that are out there, to be honest, but like I know there are some pop-in ones. When I say pop-in, I mean like really high-end makeup brands that are so expensive. Like I probably won't ever buy them until I'm in my 30s, to be honest, because they're so expensive right now that it's not something that is important to me. Maybe you love makeup and you're overthinking about all the makeup products that you don't have, and maybe you're just spending some of your wage here and there to get it one by one to build up this massive drawer of makeup so that you can start, when in fact people would rather you start with what you have than what you want. Guys, sometimes I feel like I'm rambling, but I hope you guys get the gist of what I'm saying, because me as a user of social media, I generally don't care what brands people has, as long as the makeup looks good. At the end of the day, that's all I care about. Like maybe you guys are looking at my makeup and thinking, oh, that's nice, when this makeup is like, how would you even know? Sorry, hold on. First of all, how would you even know what brands you've used on your face? I feel like it's just all, I guess it's the quality that matters. You know what? I'm rambling. Let's just get into it, because I've got so much to talk about. Comparing your lifestyle is not ideal to influencers or to anyone else. Like you can even compare your lifestyle to your friends and feel like, oh, my friend goes out all the time where I'm always indoors. I used to be like that when I was younger, like especially because I was trapped indoors. Before COVID happened, I was already in a lockdown situation, so I didn't really go out that much when I was younger. And I used to envy people that would go out so much when they were younger. So, you know, there's that comparison online where you're seeing your friends go out to parties and you're just sitting down in your home like, damn, like I wish I could go out. Or it's almost like FOMO, fear of missing out, which I think I'm going to touch on later on in the episode. Stuff like that where you're seeing people experience quote unquote life and you feel left out because you feel like you're missing out on some vital key things in your life, when in fact you're not really missing out on anything. I guess in my experience where I felt I missed out on stuff is like sometimes when I'm podcasting and maybe I put all my effort in and I'm here thinking like, damn, I should be at these events if I put more effort in, or I should be at this like conferences if I put more effort in. It's almost like victim mentality, like I feel sorry for myself, so I just kind of like stop doing what I do best. Sometimes I'm off the podcast because I'm going through these episodes of where I'm upset with not being able to have the time to produce what I want to produce. you know, you're feeling like you're missing out on certain experiences, and it's making you not want to show that you're not doing anything almost, so you just kind of like stop. But yeah, definitely I feel like sometimes I struggle with the idea that I don't have the achievements that I feel like I deserve. So it's one of those things where it's like, you know your worth, but you feel like other people can't see your worth. And it doesn't mean that people won't ever see your worth. It just means like there's some more growth to happen within yourself. And once you get through that, then that's one way of combating anxiety. Also, another way that I feel like I've struggled with comparing myself with others, especially online, body image and like how I look, or yeah, definitely just like how I look or body image. Like I feel like that really affects the way I use social media. And it's like I don't feel like I can really use it if I'm not skinny enough, or if I don't look like I've glowed up, or if my makeup is not on point. Like I feel like I can't record an episode because all the other podcasters that I see have a nice bedroom, or nice makeup, a nice hairstyle, nice clothes, nice body. And it's like it really throws you off from doing what you do. And I've been in that situation where I'm like, oh, I'll wait until I've lost weight so I can start recording again, or I'll wait until I get my hair done and then I'll start recording again, or I'll wait until I buy this specific item for my room and then I'll start recording again. Stuff like that throws me off recording or posting on social media. And it's like stuff that users don't care about because no one looks into detail. Like the more you think about it, nobody cares. Like nobody cares if you have a massive rug in your living room. It's only you're doing it for yourself. But if you're doing it because you want other people to care so much, it's not going to bring you much satisfaction. On to the next one is fear of rejection. Fear of rejection is something that I think has thrown me off podcasting. Sometimes you may have unrealistic standards for yourself and expectations. Maybe you're like myself, you're a perfectionist and you want everything to be perfect before you actually start. Like almost like kind of what I mentioned a short while ago, the idea of waiting until you have a specific item, waiting until you look good, or waiting until, I don't know, some sort of drive to motivate you to use social media. Maybe that's you. Maybe you're even thinking about starting a YouTube channel and you haven't, but you're just scared, and maybe you don't have the right equipments to start it, which is pushing you back. When I started this podcast, all I had was an app and a wired earphones back in the day that you'd plug into your phone, and that's how I'd record my episodes. And I just decided to start because buying a whole setup didn't make sense, because I didn't even have the money for it, and some of us don't have the money for it. So don't splurge your money on something that you're practicing on. Like I remember when I started photography, I'd use my phone. I remember TikTokers saying that when you start maybe like videography or something, don't buy the high-end cameras like a film Fuji camera, which is like almost like 1K to afford. Like that, just because you bought it doesn't make you automatically a good videographer. You can easily use your phones. Like your phones have really well built in lenses that allow you to take really high quality images or videos. And so if that's where you need to start from there and then work your way up, because people will appreciate your work rather than what camera you have, because the camera you have doesn't change the fact that you might be a shit photographer. Do you get me? Obviously we all have to start from somewhere, but I know like even now, like I have my phone and other people have the same phone as me, and I can take like pretty good decent photos, whereas others have the same phone and can't really take the same type of photos. Because sometimes what separates someone that has a high-end camera and someone that knows how to take photos is you can easily see the beauty in things, whereas when you have a high-end camera you can't easily see the beauty in things. You just take photos. Maybe I'm stretching, but like that's how I see it. So like I said in the start of this episode, if you're the individual that has Instagram and you don't want to post a image on it because you're scared people might dislike it, or you're scared people will think you're cringe, or you're scared people think you're weird for posting it, Like, that is a normal feeling, because I feel like a lot of people go through that, where in fact people don't outwardly hate on your pictures, or you feel like maybe they might perceive you in the wrong way than what you've posted online. So sometimes I've had like those late night Snapchat stories where you post something and you're like, okay, yeah, I like this, and then I delete it shortly after, because I'm going to be like, oh, I think people are going to think I'm weird for posting this, so I delete it. It's that type of anxiety, because you're so pressured in terms of what everyone thinks about you. And one thing that I've learned this year is that not everybody is going to like you. And that's just the sad truth. Like, no matter how nice I might be to someone, there's always somewhere out there that just doesn't like you for unknown reasons. I'm not too sure why. You'll never know why. Maybe it's just because of the way you live your life, or maybe it's just the way you are, or maybe there's something about yourself that you don't really know that people dislike about yourself, which is also okay, because that means you can also work on yourself. It doesn't mean you should stop doing what you do best, whether that's posting on Instagram or whether that's making cookies for like a party or something, and you're scared of people, what people will think about it, because maybe you're just anxious about people disliking your cookies. Or even posting a podcast like myself, like I get scared when I post a podcast, because I'm like, damn, like what if people dislike it? Like, I remember we just started a YouTube channel, just in case you guys don't know, so I'll be posting videos on there, and I'm pretty sure if you're on Spotify you can watch my videos as well, but any other social platform I don't think so. But if you want to watch the videos, that's available on YouTube. One thing I realized was when I started the YouTube channel, and obviously like we haven't had our listeners like change over onto YouTube, so if you want to listen on our YouTube, subscribe, or if you're new on YouTube, subscribe as well. But yeah, I feel like because the views are low on our YouTube at the moment, the likes are low, but the likes are positive. So I've had majority for the last 3 videos I've had, or 2 videos I think it was, the likes have been all likes, no dislikes at all. Then the last video that I did, there was 2 dislikes, and I was like, damn, like why did 2 people dislike my video? And it really made me feel like, well, what do people even think about my video? And it's stuff like that that makes you panic and think that, oh my god, a small group of people thought my podcast was bad, and that shouldn't affect the way that I do my hobby. The reality is that not everybody is going to like the stuff that you put out there, or not everybody is going to like the stuff that you say. And so it's just one of those things where you just can't let that stop you from doing what you're doing, because it's, when you think about it, it's only a small minority that think that way out of like the other 80%. So maybe 20% of people don't like you or like the things that you do, but the 80% of people do. Why should you let the 20% of people stop you from reaching your full potential? And that's one thing that I've realized, like, just because 2 people dislike my video doesn't mean everybody liked it, because the reviews on that video was very positive, and I got a lot of feedback from people, like what they thought and how much they loved it, which was nice. And then you've got haters regardless. Like, there's going to be someone out there, whether you like it or not, that will hate you because they're either jealous or they don't like the way you do certain things. Just, there's so many reasons, and I'll never understand it myself, but you know, it's so normal now. Seeking validation in terms of like fear of rejection, because you just want to appear a certain way to a specific group of people so that you can feel accepted. And sometimes this can be really negative, because when you don't get the feedback that you want, it just shows you how genuine you were, depending on whether you were like, let's say, maybe you're an individual that sees that something is popping off, like let's say a particular type of makeup style. And so because you can see how easily people are getting views and likes and followers from it, you decide that you're going to do the same thing and start that style of makeup, because you think you will now get the views and likes and followers because it was that easy for another individual. But the thing is, you have no experience in that makeup industry or anything like that. You're just doing it for the likes. And then because you've done that now with no genuineness, you don't get the feedback, the positive feedback that you thought you would. You don't get the followers, you don't get the likes, you don't get any of that. And so that stresses you out, and you don't get the validation that you thought you would get. And so you now no longer want to associate yourself with it. You stop. you decide, oh my god, everyone hates this, blah blah blah, when in fact you never liked it in the first place. And people love genuine people for their true ability rather than pretending that they're able to do something. So I would never go out my way and do, I don't know, maybe even makeup as well. I would never go out my way to do a makeup channel because I know I don't enjoy doing particular makeup styles. So that's the way I would do it. Like, I would not force myself to do something because it's getting likes and followers. I'll just do what I feel like I enjoy doing, and hopefully it gets the likes and followers for that audience. Also, another thing for seeking validation is, and it's kind of like what I was saying earlier with unrealistic standards. Maybe you're expecting a video to go viral and it doesn't go viral, and you're kind of disappointed now because you feel like everyone has rejected your video and you feel like everyone dislikes your video, when in fact it's not that. Like, I can't really put a explanation as to why you wouldn't go viral, but as in, like, sometimes it doesn't mean that you are disliked or even like getting as many likes as you feel like you deserve. Maybe certain people just didn't see it, or maybe people just, I don't know, it's hard to explain that point as to why. I'm pretty sure there is a reason for it, but that's how I process it. Like, don't seek validation through things. As long as you're genuinely satisfied with the content that you put out there, whether that's your Instagram post or whether that's your Snapchat story, then you shouldn't care about what people say. Because sometimes, I remember when back in the day, I used to post like really interactive Snapchat stories, and like I would post them expecting people to react back to them, like to tell me what their thoughts were. And sometimes you didn't get their thoughts, so it kind of makes you feel like, damn, like everyone hates me, or everyone doesn't like what I post, or everyone, it makes you nitpick things about yourself, which is really not the best thing to do. When you seek validation, you're not self-satisfied, that you're seeking satisfaction from other people. And to be fair, I think I know why. Maybe it's because as humans we're brought up to constantly seek validation from our parents, and maybe as adults now, or maybe you're a teenager, or maybe you're a grown adult, maybe you still seek validation because you expect someone to be like, oh my god, Joseph, that was so good, like I'm so proud of you, blah blah blah, keep doing what you're doing, because that's what we got from our parents. Nobody's saying that to me all the time, so now I feel like nobody really cares or nobody really likes what I'm doing. And I guess in a way sometimes that is hard because you're overthinking about how people think about your videos. Like, I remember I used to watch my podcast videos back to back, like trying to get a different perspective on what other people think about my video. So it's like I'm trying to think like, oh, okay, what does that person, like, what would an individual think about what I said there? Or like, what do they think when I said that? Like, it's hard. You can't always keep nitpicking certain things about yourself so that you can understand what people would think about it. And if you think they don't like it, then you stop. Like, it's not fair to yourself. So the next thing is online harassment. And whether you've been harassed online or you've seen others harassed online, this can also affect the way we use social media. Maybe you have TikTok and you've never posted on TikTok, but you use TikTok consistently. It's not like you never ever want to post on TikTok, but you're too scared on posting on TikTok because you've watched so many videos and seen so many people get harassed online. So it's a thing where you're scared now that if you post on TikTok, that maybe it might, let's say, accidentally get viral and you get so much hate for your video. Maybe that's stopping you from posting on TikTok because you're scared about what people may think about your video, and it's stopping you from reaching your true ability because you want to start but you're too scared. It's almost like me in this podcast. When I started, even my younger self would never have started the podcast in fear of even just talking to a camera, being online, and having the exposure of people to see you for who you are, and then maybe even nitpick certain things about you or say rude things about you. Like, I was scared, and now I've put that behind me because I generally do not care about what people have to say about me or think about me. I would rather just do what I like doing best and just put it out there because, I've grown. Even when I started the podcast, that's why I never really did videos, because I was like, I don't look good to do video podcasts, or I don't have the equipment to do video podcasts, or I don't have the aesthetic room to do a video podcast. So I never did one because I was scared about how people would perceive me. And the way I think is I always want to impress new people, especially because it's a podcast and we're always garnering new listeners. So it's something that I take into consideration every time that I do my podcast. And the only reason why I decided to start video podcasts is because I said to myself, okay, I need to hold myself accountable. I need to appreciate myself more often. I need to respect myself and just do what I like doing there, or else I would never have the right audience and they won't ever see my full potential. And so that was me just exposing myself to the world, basically putting my face out there properly. Like, I feel like YouTube was the one that I thought, I don't know, like I don't think I would ever put my face on there, because I was just too worried about what everyone would think. But now it's just second nature. I just generally don't care. It's like almost talking to a bunch of friends, or basically like I'm looking into the camera and like, yeah, like this is so, even it's funny now that I think about it, because one could say that it's weird, but it's something that I'm so used to right now that nothing has really changed the way I think. I hope you guys get what I'm saying. And then also, you may have been someone that has been harassed online, and maybe you were harassed when you were younger online. Maybe you were like 13 years old, back in the social media days. I know back in the days there used to be a lot more social keyboard warriors, and they will basically have no life and just start threatening people for the slightest thing. And maybe that was you, and you're basically traumatized from that, and you can't see yourself getting back into social media, which is fully understandable. But then don't let that be the drive to your success, because you can't let that stop you from reaching your full potential. But that's all I have to say for that. The fourth part of the main causes of social media anxiety is real life relationships. I feel like this is a really big factor in terms of like starting social media, whether you want to take social media seriously or whether you just want to do social media for fun. Social media is quite interesting when it also affects your relationships and friendships. So maybe you have a group of friends and you're telling them that you're thinking about starting a photography page, and they're like thinking, like, I don't really know if that's a good idea, because maybe they're equally as scared, so they don't want to see you now start possibly flourishing. And you might not be great at the start, but just because you're not great at the start doesn't mean you're not going to be great in the future. Like, you're going to get better, obviously. You might feel judged by the people around you. Maybe they're judging you and you don't realize, or maybe they are judging you openly and it's affecting the way you want to start social media, because now you're not just only dealing with your own thoughts, but you're dealing with the people around you. And I feel like it's harder because those people around you know you well and know you best, so it's like harder because it seems like they're coming from a genuine place when really they're not coming from a genuine place. Whereas maybe online, people obviously don't know you, so it's easier to brush off what they think because obviously they don't know you, whereas your friends do know you, or family, or whoever it may be. They know you on a deeper level than people do online. So to you, it may seem like, damn, what if this is true? What if I am bad at singing? Or what if I am bad at dancing? Or what if I am? Like, it's the what ifs that really affect the way you do social media because of your friends or family or whoever it may be. Again, maybe your friends don't take what you do seriously, so to them it almost becomes like a joke, so it becomes almost intimidating for you to do it, because now your friends think you're silly for maybe for you to vlog all the time or making cooking videos in your kitchen, or maybe they feel like you are just like a wannabe influencer when in fact you're just doing what you enjoy. I don't know, people can really dim your light, and if that's the situation, it's best to distance yourself away from those sorts of people. And we've all been in that situation where maybe your friends also don't support what you do, so it brings you down. Like I've been in so many situations actually, especially with this podcast, where I share the podcast with my personal friends, and then they don't share it online, and I'm like, damn, like, do you guys? And the thing is, the worst thing is that I can't see who watches. Not that I really care who I can see watching it, but I feel like they're not watching my videos, so it's hard to see that they're supporting even though they haven't posted on, let's say, their socials, which isn't even a hard thing to do, because I feel like generally if they were your friend, they'll post it consistently because they appreciate you. And what I find so funny as well is that maybe they don't appreciate you now, but possibly when you're maybe an influencer or a celebrity, that's when they'll appreciate you and pretend like they were there from the start. That's like another thing that I feel like low-key affects a lot of people more often than they think. It's a driving impact as to why some people are anxious on social media. I just want to really just go, I know I've spoken about like my personal experiences here and there about social media, but I feel like I should go in a little bit more detail in terms of like talking about my personal experiences with you guys. I did mention at the start, I am sometimes I can be very much a perfectionist, and hopefully this can help you guide through what you're going through at the moment. I can record a whole episode and nitpick everything that I disliked about that episode because I want everything about that episode to be perfect. And the reality is nothing's going to be perfect. Like, as you're listening to this, there's going to be so many slip-ups that you're not going to ever see. Like, maybe I burped in between. Maybe I farted in between. Maybe someone walked into my bedroom naked. Like, so certain things like that you won't ever see because it's all been edited, and a lot of things on social media has been curated to make you perceive this perfect lifestyle. Like, I've seen so many like lifestyle vlogs, like holiday videos where they're like, oh, here are my, almost like our social media and expectations video, but it's almost like where your expectations for something is really high. So maybe you went to Bali and there was like, I can't remember what it was, but it's like this really nice aesthetic place, but you actually go there in person and it doesn't look like what you saw on Instagram. Social media is so curated. Same thing with TikTok videos. Maybe in one of those cooking videos they poured oil all over their clothes, and now they had to edit that out because obviously they don't want people to see that they poured stuff all over themselves. So it's stuff like that makes you feel like social media is so perfect and everyone knows how to do things perfectly, when in reality nothing's ever going to be perfect until you edit it, when it's perceived as perfect. Whenever you want to start social media, don't forget that it's okay to make mistakes, because the mistakes can be removed. So don't have high expectations of being outwardly perfect, because sometimes when I'm recording this episode, I'm like, oh my god, Akiko, I need to speak like some of these podcasters. They're slower when they talk. They know how to talk without maybe glancing at their notes. They know how to behave on the podcast. And then that makes me feel pressured in terms of maybe I don't know how to podcast and I shouldn't be podcasting because I'm not perfect as these other podcasters, when in fact these same podcasters have edited their audios. Like some of the high-end podcasters that I listen to, specifically Emma Chamberlain, I love her podcast, and sometimes when I'm listening to her podcast, I'm like, I wish I was more like Emma Chamberlain, or I wish I spoke more like Emma Chamberlain, and I wish I knew what I was going to say straight off the bat, when in fact her videos are also edited. So it's not saying that editing is a bad thing. It just makes me realize that she's not talking perfectly the whole recording. Like something may be happening in between the editings. Know what I mean? That's one thing about like perfectionism and me nitpicking a lot of things that might go wrong, or a lot of things that I feel people are going to see when I've recorded the episode, just stuff that not a lot of people care about. But I'm not going to ramble on about that because I've already done so much rambling today. The same principle can apply onto Instagram. You think that your Instagram has to have this certain aesthetics in order for you to post on Instagram, and I've been there. My feed has looked so different over the years, and it still does, and I guess in a way I kind of am seeking that perfectionism in my Instagram right now, because everyone wants their profiles to show who they are, and they want it to be perfect, and I guess that's normal. I feel like constantly seeking for perfectionism will affect the way that you do your social media, like I mentioned in the past. But I won't go into detail about that because you guys, I'm tired. I feel like being brave and taking action now is one of the key ways that I've grown to be more comfortable in podcasting. So rather than waiting until I look a certain way, I've decided, you know what, I'm just going to appreciate how I look now and start podcasting, because generally I should stop caring about what I think I look like when other people don't care that much. They just care about what I'm saying. Like, never have I received someone say to me, oh, Akiko, you looked bad in the episode. Whereas people always message me saying, oh my god, Akiko, I really loved what you said. They know the key thing about the video is about what I'm talking about rather than what I look like. Yeah, what I look like can be important, because I don't want to look unpresentable. I don't want to look like I'm tired. I don't want to look like I don't want to be here. But it shouldn't be what makes you start podcasting. Like, don't wait until you lose weight to start podcasting if that's what you want to start doing, or starting that YouTube channel, or starting TikTok. Or don't wait until you have a kitchen mixer to mix your cake batters. Don't wait until then. Maybe for now, use your ordinary the olden day mixers or whatever, because you can still do the same job with the same thing. Or maybe you're waiting until you get that Canon G7X camera. Don't wait until you get that camera. Just start with your phone, and people will appreciate the work you put out there, because that's all people care about is the content. There's always another thing I've realized is there's always an audience for something. So don't be scared about starting it now, because you will find the right audience that will appreciate you for you, rather than discouraging you or stopping you or dimming your light. One thing that I think that is important for social media anxiety is the tube girl. During summer, she was the perfect example of basically making anxiety scared of her, as some would say, which is so true, because I would never get on a train and put my phone up so that everyone can see me whilst listening to music in my ears and dancing on the London tube. Like, I could never do that. And like, I credit her all the time, because I'm like, I am so shy when it comes to taking pictures, even in like small public areas where there's not a lot of people, but I'm still scared because I'm thinking about what people will think about me when I raise my phone up to take a photo of myself, or I'm too scared about someone being like, oh my god, she's so cringe for taking a picture of herself, when there's the tube girl out there taking videos of herself, posting them on TikTok, going viral, because she doesn't give a damn about what other people think about her, because like, she's just there to do her. Like, she doesn't care about how people perceive her, and I feel like that's why she's gone viral, because everyone can see how genuine she is. When I say genuine, I mean like how she doesn't care about what other people think about herself. She's just comfortable in her own skin, that she's able to do that without others affecting her. And there's definitely been people that have harassed her online, but that hasn't stopped her from posting on TikTok. And so now, whenever I get scared of posting online, I just remind myself, there's a tube girl online that, is able to do that without looking twice about what other people think about her. So why am I scared to lift up a camera to take a photo of myself? So that's one thing I've realized. Like, now when I'm taking photos, I feel like, okay, I don't do that, because the tube girl is able to do it, so you can do it too. And you guys should be able to do it now, because I'm telling you guys, because honestly, when I see other people take photos, I don't care. I don't think, oh my gosh, she's so cringe. Like, I'm like, oh, or I don't even look. Like, I just let them do their thing. So it's kind of like the same thing. I feel like I should take more photos more often without caring about what other people think about myself. I also mentioned this in the beginning, but again, just further going into detail about my own experiences with the podcast, is I have definitely felt like sometimes when you put effort into things and you don't seek the reward that you thought you were going to get, it's kind of disheartening, and it can make you stop, especially if you kept trying. But it doesn't mean you should stop completely, because I've definitely seen YouTubers who didn't get appreciated for maybe over 2 years, and then in this 2-year mark they get the recognition they deserve. And sometimes for me, when I feel like I'm putting in all the effort and I don't get the recognition I deserve, it can be quite disheartening, and it can throw you off completely and can stop you from doing what you love to do. Don't let that fear of not being rewarded go to waste. Still put effort into all your videos or all your photos or all your cooking, because someone will appreciate it, and then one day you'll get the recognition that you deserve. So we're gonna manifest that. Don't stress, guys, because one day you'll be in that position, and you should probably keep saying that every day. Like, one day I'm gonna be in that position where everyone's going to love and deserve me. Reward me, sorry. Don't listen. Everyone's going to love and reward me. So yeah, that's how I see life now. Like, no matter how many views I get, no matter how much money I make from this, I just care about my growth. Because one thing I've realized is, like, if you start now, you're 10 times better than who you were 10 months ago, because you've grown. Obviously, things can happen in life that might fluctuate the way that we do things, but just look at your past self compared to your now self, and then see how much you've grown. That's all I'm saying. To round up this episode, I've got a couple ways on how to improve social media anxiety, and I'm going to go through them now. I'm so excited to go through it because, none of us want to be social media. None of us want to be anxious forever, and I'm going to give you the tips that I thought worked for myself and should work for you guys. And bearing in mind, just because I say they worked for me doesn't mean that I am not anxious on social media still. I feel like social media anxiety won't ever really go away completely, because it'll still linger behind there somehow. But it's just one thing to, not make it as strong as it was ages ago, because my past self, maybe 10 years ago, would have been scared of posting anything on social media compared to what I post now. I can't even think twice about what people think. I just post it now because I like the photos, and that's all that matters. There's ways to change that, because you can be a different person after this by not letting certain things affect you. Yeah, it might affect you just a teensy weensy bit, but not completely. The first one is support systems. Having the right circle around you will help you completely change the way you perceive yourself in a specific environment. Specifically, when I mean environment, I mean social media platform. So whether that's on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, for me, that was having more social media friends that do the same thing as myself, making me feel like I'm not going crazy when I'm doing certain things. Supporting me where I need to support, whether that's I have a friend that does a YouTube channel, and I also have a YouTube channel, and I've got this podcast. So he's also helped me, surrounding myself like him has helped me motivate myself when it comes to posting online, because he makes me feel like, I'm not the only one going through what I'm going through, if you get what I mean. Because I feel like where my previous friends haven't really done social media to the extent that I do it, they can't really motivate me or help me in certain aspects of my hobbies. Same thing with degrees. Let's say you're doing business and then someone's doing medicine. You're most likely going to surround yourself with people in business because they help you with your degree, rather than hanging around with someone that's in medicine, because they're two completely different things. So that doesn't mean cut off all your friends. I'm just saying balance certain friends. You can have different types of groups of friends for different purposes. Whether you're an individual that has a friend for maybe partying, or a friend that you go on holiday with, or a certain friend that you go out for restaurants, or a certain friend that you do social media with, that's what I mean. Creating your own support system, or even not just that, even having supportive friends that don't even understand what you do, but they support you regardless, is the most important thing. So that's one that I think is important, because I feel like without that, then I probably would have been lost and probably wouldn't have restarted the podcast if it wasn't for my friend that did help me, because he's also doing social media as well. Unfollowing content, I've mentioned this in a couple of the episodes. Unfollowing content that makes you anxious is one of the key ways of getting rid of things that is just not benefiting your life. So whether that's content that is negative, that doesn't motivate you, makes you feel less than, or whether you think you're comparing yourself to certain influencers on your Instagram or TikTok, it's best to get rid of that, so you don't feel like you're missing out on certain experiences in life. Just because they might be rich and you're not rich doesn't mean it's never going to happen, because it just means it's not going to happen now. If they make you feel less than, then they're not the right influencers for you. Like, I know there are some influencers out there that make people feel like, well, if you don't have a Van Cleef bracelet, then you're poor. And they make it known that you're poor, which is so frustrating, because it's like, damn, they say 15,000 as if it's £15. Even £15 is a struggle for some of us. Like, they make it sound so easy to be like them or to get certain things, and if you're not like them, then you're not worth it. It's not a nice situation to be in. The next one is self-esteem and self-validation is really about not caring about the likes, the followers, or the money, and just doing it because you enjoy it, and it makes you get out of bed, and it makes you do what you need to do for the rest of the day. If that's something that motivates you, do it because it helps you, not because it's popular on TikTok, or because it makes a lot of money now, or because you just want to be an influencer and just get the amount of followers. Because when you think about it, people can see through people, and they can see how genuine you are when you do something. So definitely take that into consideration when you maybe want to start that YouTube channel that you're thinking about. Are you doing it for the right reasons? Are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it for others? Are you doing it to be seen a certain way? Are you doing it for the money? Are you doing it for the followers? I can go on and on. But honestly, guys, make sure that those are the reasons that you are thinking, you're taking into consideration when you start, because people can tell when you're genuine about something and when you're not. One thing as well is practicing self-comparison. I think this is really important when it comes to podcasting or anything that you do. For myself in particular, when I compare myself, I'm like, okay, no, we're not going to let this happen today. We're just going to compare ourselves to see how far we've grown. I think that's the most important thing. Comparing where you were before and where you are now is always the key thing. Maybe you were at a good point at one point, and now you're not in the considered great point right now, but it doesn't mean that you can't get back to your peak. Basically, you could even go above your peak. You could reach your full potential. So don't ever let that stop you from ever reaching your full potential. Honestly, guys, I think the most important thing is noticing your growth rather than other people's growth. The next part is set clear intentions, almost like how I mentioned about being genuine. Understand why you're doing something rather than doing something because it's cool. The last thing I want to mention is regularly review and reflect. Reflect on how much work you've done to get to the particular point you've gotten to. Maybe just think about all the ways you can improve in whatever content that you want to pursue in. And yeah, that's really it, to be honest. I don't really have anything else to say on that. Just maybe just looking out for yourself more rather than looking out at others, what they think, because I've been in that situation and it's not nice. To conclude today's episode, we delved into social media anxiety, the impact and its causes, and we shared some personal experiences and explored strategies to conquer it. Remember, social media anxiety is one that all of us face, and it's one that can be solved by setting boundaries, creating our feeds, practicing self-care. We can find healthier balance in our digital life. Take one step today to better your digital well-being. My question for you guys for the Q&A is, have you personally experienced social media anxiety, and how did you deal with it? Thank you guys for joining me in today's episode. Share your thoughts and questions on Lost in the 21st Century podcast, Instagram, TikTok, I don't know, wherever you want to share your review. And if you're listening to this on maybe Spotify or YouTube and you've reached the end of this episode, leave a strawberry on our Instagram or in the comment section below. Stay tuned for our next episode next Wednesday at 8 a.m. on self-care and mental health during the winter. Love you guys. Speak to y'all soon.